Emma Carter had loved painting for as long as she could remember. As a child, while other children played outside, Emma spent hours sitting by the window of her small apartment, sketching the changing colors of the sunset. Her mother often smiled as she watched her daughter lose herself in a blank canvas. "You don't just paint what you see," her mother would say. "You paint what people feel." Those words became Emma's guiding light. Life, however, was far from easy. Her father had died when she was only 10 years old, leaving her mother to raise her alone. Money was always tight. They couldn't afford expensive art schools or professional supplies. Emma painted on discarded cardboard, old wooden boards, and cheap paper she collected from local stores. But talent doesn't depend on expensive brushes. By the age of 24, Emma had developed a style unlike anyone else's. Her paintings weren't simply beautiful. They carried emotion: a lonely lighthouse standing against an endless storm, a child smiling while hiding tears, an elderly couple holding hands beneath fading autumn leaves. People who saw her work often stood in silence for several minutes before speaking. Many even cried. Yet talent alone wasn't enough. Without connections, galleries ignored unknown artists. Emma visited dozens of exhibitions carrying her portfolio. Every answer sounded the same. "We're looking for established names. Your style isn't commercial. Maybe try again next year." Still, she refused to quit. One rainy afternoon, she received an email from one of the country's most prestigious galleries, the Sterling Gallery. Its owner, Victor Sterling, was famous for discovering talented artists. Emma couldn't believe it. Her hands trembled as she opened the invitation. Mr. Sterling wanted to review her collection personally. It felt like the opportunity she had been waiting for her entire life. The next morning, Emma carefully packed 12 of her finest paintings. Each one represented months of work. She arrived at the magnificent gallery wearing her only formal dress. The marble floors reflected sunlight. Elegant sculptures lined the entrance. Collectors, critics, and wealthy visitors quietly admired priceless artwork. Emma felt out of place, but she reminded herself that art belonged to everyone. Victor Sterling greeted her with a charming smile. He was in his late 50s, dressed in an expensive, tailored suit. His reputation was impeccable. Emma carefully displayed each painting. Victor examined them one by one. His expression remained unreadable. Finally, he smiled. "Miss Carter," she held her breath, "you are extraordinary." Emma's heart nearly stopped. He continued, "I've worked with hundreds of artists, but I've rarely seen emotional storytelling like this." Emma could hardly believe what she was hearing. Victor shook her hand warmly. "I'd like to organize a private exhibition for your collection." She almost cried. Everything she had dreamed of was finally happening. Victor asked if he could keep the paintings for professional photography and promotional planning. Emma happily agreed. He handed her several documents. Without thinking much, she signed them. They appeared to be standard gallery agreements. Victor promised to contact her within 2 weeks. Emma left the gallery smiling brighter than ever before. She called her mother immediately. "We did it, Mom!" Her mother cried with happiness. "I always knew the world would see your gift." Days passed, then weeks. Victor stopped answering emails. Phone calls went unanswered. Finally, Emma visited the gallery again. The receptionist politely informed her that Mr. Sterling was unavailable. She returned the next day, and the next. Eventually, security asked her to leave. Confused and heartbroken, Emma began doubting herself. Had the exhibition been canceled? Had something gone wrong? One evening, while browsing an art magazine, Emma froze. The magazine's cover displayed a breathtaking painting. It was hers. Every brushstroke, every color, every tiny detail. But beneath the painting appeared another name, Daniel Rhodes, a celebrated contemporary artist represented by Sterling Gallery. Emma couldn't breathe. Inside the magazine, the article praised Daniel's bold new artistic direction. Her paintings, her ideas, her emotions. Someone else had taken credit. She rushed to the gallery, demanding answers. Victor calmly met her in his office. Emma placed the magazine on his desk. "That's my painting." Victor barely looked at it. "No. It belongs to Daniel Rhodes." I created it. Victor leaned back. Can you prove that? Emma stared in disbelief. The contracts you signed transferred exhibition rights. They also transferred certain intellectual property permissions. Emma realized she had signed documents without fully reading them. Victor smiled coldly. You should have hired a lawyer. She left the gallery in tears. Outside, rain poured over the city. People hurried past without noticing the young artist whose dream had just been stolen. Emma looked at the magazine one final time. Then she whispered through clenched teeth. They laughed at me today. But one day, the entire world will know the truth. Emma spent weeks in despair after leaving Sterling Gallery. Every morning she woke up hoping it had all been a nightmare, but reality never changed. Everywhere she looked, magazines, newspapers, and social media praised Daniel Rhodes as the brilliant creator of paintings that had come from her own hands. Critics called him the voice of a new generation, while collectors paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for artwork that Emma had created in the tiny apartment she shared with her mother. For a while, she considered giving up art forever. Then one evening, her mother quietly placed an old wooden paintbrush on the kitchen table. It was the first brush Emma had ever used as a child. You can let one dishonest man steal your paintings, her mother said gently, but don't let him steal the artist inside you. Those words changed everything. Emma realized something important. Victor Sterling had stolen her past work, but he could never steal her imagination. The next morning, she packed a small suitcase, sold what little furniture she owned, and moved to a quiet coastal town nearly 300 miles away. There, she rented a tiny studio overlooking the ocean. The building was old, the roof leaked during heavy rain, and the walls were cracked. But the sunlight pouring through the windows reminded her why she had fallen in love with painting. She decided to disappear. No interviews, no galleries, no social media. Only art. For nearly 3 years, Emma painted every single day. She experimented with colors she had never used before, mixed traditional techniques with modern textures, and developed an entirely new artistic style. Each painting told a story without a single written word. Her work became richer, deeper, and more emotional than ever. Instead of signing her real name, she adopted the mysterious identity, Evelyn Ash. Nobody knew who Evelyn Ash was. Collectors only knew that every painting released under that name sold out within hours. An independent online gallery agreed to represent the anonymous artist without asking questions. Emma insisted that all communication go through her attorney and that her face never appear in public. The mystery fascinated people. Art bloggers debated whether Evelyn Ash was a famous painter working under a secret identity. Some believed the artist was a retired master. Others claimed Evelyn Ash was a group of painters rather than one person. The speculation only increased demand. Within a year, museums across Europe requested exhibitions. Private collectors competed fiercely at auctions. One painting sold for nearly $2 million. Emma watched every auction from her modest studio, smiling quietly as her work finally received the admiration it deserved. Meanwhile, Victor Sterling's gallery enjoyed enormous success with Daniel Rhodes. But something had changed. Daniel's newest paintings no longer carried the emotional depth that critics had once praised. Reviewers noticed that his work felt repetitive and strangely lifeless. Articles began asking difficult questions. Has Daniel Rhodes lost his inspiration? Why do his latest paintings feel so different? Daniel grew increasingly frustrated. He spent countless hours trying to recreate the magic of the earlier collection, but every new canvas seemed ordinary compared to the stolen masterpieces. Victor pressured him relentlessly. We need another masterpiece, Victor demanded. I'm trying, Daniel replied. No, Victor snapped. You're failing. As sales slowly declined, Victor became obsessed with discovering the mysterious Evelyn Ash. If he could sign this anonymous artist to Sterling Gallery, his reputation would recover. He instructed assistants to investigate every clue. They searched galleries, auction houses, and artist communities around the world. But Emma had been careful. Every contract went through lawyers. Every shipment was handled by trusted representatives. No one ever met Evelyn Ash in person. The mystery only grew larger. 5 years after Emma had walked out of Sterling Gallery in tears, the world's largest international art exhibition announced something extraordinary. For the first time ever, Evelyn Ash had agreed to reveal her identity during the exhibition's opening ceremony. The announcement sent shockwaves through the art world. Television networks booked live coverage. Collectors flew in from every continent. Critics called it the most anticipated artistic event of the decade. Victor Sterling immediately reserved front-row seats, convinced he would finally sign the mysterious artist to an exclusive contract before anyone else. Daniel Rhodes also attended, hoping to study the person whose work had captivated the entire world. Neither of them suspected that the woman they had betrayed years earlier was about to walk onto the stage. Behind the curtain, Emma stood calmly in a simple black dress, holding the same worn paintbrush her mother had given her years before. She looked toward the packed auditorium and took a slow breath. This time, she wasn't there to ask for permission. She wasn't there to seek approval. She had come to reveal the truth and make sure the entire world heard it. The grand auditorium buzzed with excitement. Collectors, museum directors, journalists, television crews, and some of the world's most influential art critics filled every seat. Cameras pointed toward the stage, waiting for the mysterious artist known only as Evelyn Ash to finally reveal herself. Victor Sterling sat confidently in the front row. Beside him was Daniel Rhodes, who nervously adjusted his tie. Victor leaned over and whispered, "Whoever Evelyn Ash is, Sterling Gallery will represent her before the night is over." Daniel nodded, though something about the evening made him uneasy. The lights dimmed. A spotlight illuminated the center of the stage. The exhibition host stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 5 years, the world has admired the extraordinary work of the anonymous artist known as Evelyn Ash. Tonight, for the very first time, she has agreed to reveal her identity." The audience erupted into applause. A few seconds of silence followed. Then a woman walked slowly onto the stage. She wore a simple black dress with no expensive jewelry, no designer accessories, and no attempt to impress anyone with wealth. In her hand was an old wooden paintbrush, its handle worn smooth by years of use. Victor's confident smile disappeared. Daniel's face turned pale. It was Emma Carter, the same young artist who had walked into Sterling Gallery years earlier, carrying 12 paintings and a heart full of hope. Whispers spread across the auditorium. "Isn't she the woman from years ago? I've seen her before." Victor immediately stood up. "This is ridiculous!" he shouted. The host calmly replied, "Mr. Sterling, please allow the artist to speak." Emma walked to the microphone. Her voice was steady and calm. "5 years ago, I came to a famous gallery believing talent would be enough. I trusted the people who promised to help me. Instead, my paintings were stolen, my dreams were taken, and another person received the credit." The room fell completely silent. Emma continued, "I almost gave up painting forever, but I realized something important. A thief can steal paintings, but a thief cannot steal imagination." The giant screen behind her suddenly came to life. Photographs of her old apartment appeared. Then came dated sketches, unfinished drafts, notebooks filled with ideas, videos recorded on her phone while she painted, and time-stamped photographs showing the creation of every original artwork. The audience gasped. Every image clearly proved that Emma had created the paintings years before they were exhibited under Daniel Rhodes' name. A respected forensic art expert stepped onto the stage. "Our independent investigation examined thousands of files, digital records, original sketches, paint samples, and studio photographs. There is no doubt whatsoever." He paused before delivering the final sentence. "Emma Carter is the original creator of every disputed painting." The audience burst into shocked murmurs. Journalists immediately began typing headlines. Television cameras turned toward Victor Sterling. His face had turned completely white. Daniel slowly stood from his seat. For the first time in years, guilt overcame his fear. He walked onto the stage without saying a word. Facing the audience, he lowered his head. "I owe everyone the truth." His voice trembled. "When Victor Sterling showed me Emma's paintings, he told me no one would ever know. I convinced myself it was only temporary. I kept accepting praise that I didn't deserve." He looked directly at Emma. "I was weak. I'm sorry." "I don't expect forgiveness." The room remained silent. Victor suddenly interrupted. He's lying! But before he could continue, several investigators entered the auditorium carrying official documents. One detective approached Victor. Mr. Sterling, you are under investigation for fraud, intellectual property theft, contract manipulation, and financial deception. The cameras captured everything live. Victor tried to protest. This is a misunderstanding. The detective calmly replied. The evidence says otherwise. He was escorted out of the exhibition as reporters surrounded him with questions. Within days, Sterling Gallery lost its investors. Museums canceled every partnership. Collectors withdrew their collections. Civil lawsuits followed one after another. The once powerful gallery declared bankruptcy within a year. Daniel publicly surrendered every award he had received for the stolen paintings. He donated much of his remaining wealth to young artists' scholarship programs and disappeared from the public eye, choosing to live quietly while accepting responsibility for his actions. Emma, however, refused to let revenge define her future. She accepted ownership of her work, but instead of celebrating Victor's downfall, she announced something unexpected. She purchased the abandoned Sterling Gallery building through a public auction. The media assumed she would rename it after herself. She did not. Instead, she transformed it into the Carter Foundation for Young Artists, a nonprofit gallery where unknown painters could exhibit their work free of charge. Every artist received independent legal advice before signing contracts, ensuring that no one would ever lose ownership of their creations the way she had. During the grand opening, Emma hung one special painting near the entrance. It showed a small seed growing through a crack in cold stone until it became a magnificent tree. Beneath it was a simple plaque. Talent may be ignored, it may be mocked, it may even be stolen for a time. But truth, like great art, always finds its way into the light. Visitors stopped to read those words every day. Many left inspired. Emma never painted for fame again. She painted because it was who she was. And in the end, the greatest revenge was not destroying the people who had wronged her. It was creating a life so honest, successful, and meaningful that their betrayal became only a small chapter in her remarkable story.